My theme was expressions and suggestions of the human experience. So my process has always been very experimental. I switch between what I want to do every day almost. I like seeing people's reactions to my work as well because that's what it's about mainly. I began looking more at sculpture and then I did loads of videos, mainly underwater because I like the fluidity and the rhythm that creates. But as I say, I also take inspiration from Pippilotti Wrist, and she has a lot of saturated videos and I like the colour element in that. I also worked with hair and human elements again, and I like the way that moved through the water. So from then I've progressed to actually creating an installation from the videos. I like the idea of suspending things from the ceiling, and I've been working with that a lot, especially when setting up my installation. And I've also been using Eva Hesse's idea of using banal materials and transforming them. So I work a lot with mesh at the moment, and I like the way that the light and the projection works on the material. What I like about my work is that you can fully immerse yourself in it. So whether that be the sound, the touch of the sort of material, the colour from the projection. And I aim to allow my installation to be one that you can go into and look up and look around, and you have to move through the space. And that's what I like about it.
My theme is based on distortion and motion and movement. I do a lot of self-portraits, so I use myself as sort of the subject. The way that you perceive things and perspectives and materials to work with changing the face. The process and how that affects distortion. How circumstances in which you're drawing actually change the work itself. I've looked a lot at Marlene de Mar and Dryden Goodwin. Both look at the process and how that actively distorts their work. Dryden Goodwin talks about how the process of looking actually distorts. Trying to get the detail across but still distorting it, so I'll build up the layers. For the movement, like I take a lot of photos and motion capture and draw from that, and then paint from that, and it's all inspired to like a series of steps. I'm really pleased with my project and how it's turned out, from sort of many small drawings and looking at ink and using a lot of watercolour to making quite big paintings. And I actually think that, yeah, I've captured distortion in and movement in an interesting way.
My theme is about abstraction within landscapes. With my work, I wanted to portray more of an urban environment through the use of colour and lines to show like movement, vibrant colours such as graffiti that you would see in like cities. I was inspired by Richard Diamond Corn, David Hockney, Wayne Fireboard, Harold Anker, because I like the way they break down the shapes and the use of lines. They simplified the landscapes and made them look abstract, and they played on perspective, which inspired me. They used unnatural colours, they were very bright and vibrant, which I wanted to include into my own work because it's something different to what I would typically see in a landscape. I started off with images and breaking down the landscapes into shapes and lines. I then used different materials such as chalk, graphite, charcoal, used different coloured paper to experiment with colour. I then moved on to working with inks, which I think allowed me to go in different directions with the colour. I made the colours more vibrant, more subtle. I also worked with different scales. I worked on larger scales, I worked on smaller scales to see how it would work with the inks. I then went back on over my ink pieces with the harsher, more precise lines, which I think created a good contrast between the more loose inks and graphite in the background with the more precise lines over the top, so there was more structure to the landscapes. My end pieces, I think, were very successful as you could really see the techniques that I took from the artists I had researched. I think the compositions of my work was really well done. I think the ink was the most successful part of my work. The most important thing within my work was the breakdown of the shapes and the lines and experimenting and developing my compositions more.
I started off looking at sort of the human relationship with space and how architecture is kind of a starting point for that. The point where deeper human elements can be drawn out from. How we interact with the space, how we move through a space, how memories are connected to space, and sort of bringing that all together. I was mainly looking at Clark, Dohosu, Rachel White-Reed, looking at artists that really document space well in like different mediums. Clark would look at quite literal like deconstruction of space and taking that apart and rearranging it again, and then Rachel White-Reed sort of looking at casting space, interior, exterior, like 3D physical representations of the human relationship with space. I don't really have a plan when I work. I sort of look at a lot of different things at the same time. Like I would cast whilst I was monoprinting or working on an animation, and like hanging things up, looking at how they fit in a space, just doing a bit of everything at the same time, sort of just so I could really see how it all comes together instead of working on individual pieces. When I'm putting stuff together and thinking about the space and how I can create an installation, I'm thinking about like how I can represent my own memories of domestic interiors and the idea of home, and having sort of like an area where it can be fragmented sort of like elements of a space and like your memories to it. Fabric and how that can sort of like translate memories of space and like the fragility of memory. Representing my own experiences with this space and like my own memories, and it being the focal point of it being like my home. And I like creating the like atmosphere with the sound and the animation and how you get a lot of the context of it as well. They sort of get to walk around my mind in a way and really like understand the space that I move through every day and interact with, and how that translates into my personal relationship with the space.
My theme is called Distortion and Delusion, and what I was trying to explore was the distortion between the combination of the natural and the unnatural. Inspired by Yayoi Kusama, Damien Hirst, Laura Buckley and Catherine Yass. I liked Kusama's, dotted work, and I especially liked her installation called Infinity Room, where she had a lot of mirrors placed in the walls and lights, and it all reflected everything around it, making the room look larger than it actually was. I wanted to kind of make a response to Damien Hirst's work, where he uses resin to embody his work inside. I used PVA glue instead since I didn't have resin, and I took plants, bits of nature, and I took bits that were unnatural as well, and I placed them all together within the PVA glue and let them dry. And I wanted a more solid figure, so I turned to doing the same thing with wax instead. I like how I managed to combine the natural and the unnatural and show, a beauty within the distortion. Although I don't really have mirrors in the room to reflect the image all around, I did include single mirrors into the piece for it to, reflect the image of the viewer. Kind of like to reflect, who is responsible for the destruction of nature in a way.